With Square probably being the most prolific point of sale system out there, you're probably going to get to a point in your business where you want to integrate something like WooCommerce to have an online store as well as your point of sale system with your iPad. Now, Square and many of the other providers out there offer you a website, but they're typically not very good. And so you're probably going to want to use WordPress and WooCommerce. But if you're like me, you also probably did some research to find that the Square and WooCommerce integration plugin has horrible reviews. And I was shocked to find this. My best friend is starting this coffee company. Here on the channel, we've done a live stream where we build a portion of their website, but we knew that we wanted to be able to offer online orders through WooCommerce and also buying product through there as well. What was going to be extremely essential though was the ability to make sure that if we had inventory in Square, such as, beans of coffee or shirts or whatever it is, and that product is available on WooCommerce, we wanted to make sure there wouldn't be an issue with product syncing. So somebody buys something on the website that actually doesn't exist in inventory. And of course that plugin exists, the Square for WooCommerce integration, but like I mentioned, it has terrible reviews. So what I wanted to do was really put it to the test. If you go look at some of these reviews, some of them you can see may not be applicable to you. Somebody said the Apple Pay integration didn't work, which is not really that big of a deal for us. People can just use a regular credit card. And then there are various other things. People's payments accounts got shut down. Who knows what that's for? This is a legitimate business. And so I'm not particularly worried about people that are claiming, issues in other arenas. All that I care about was the product sync. Now, if we go over here to the actual WooCommerce website, you can see that the reviews say that it has a better rating than it does on the WordPress store. So I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but none of the reviews seem to indicate a similar problem except the product sync. What I've discovered with the product sync though, is that you can only have a simple product in WooCommerce and it can only have one variation. It can't be a complex product. It can't have lots of different variations unless you're only using the inventory management component of WooCommerce. But if we take a look at our WordPress backend here, you can see there's only 3 products here. These have all come from my Square app here on this iPad, this very iPad, and the app is right here, even though you probably can't see it. There's Square. And there's a few things that I've discovered. So I'm going to switch the screen here to my iPad so you can see what it looks like. When you click on a product in your Square inventory, it has to have a SKU of some unique origin. It can't be anything that matches in WooCommerce already. And you also need to input the stock item level. Now, switching back over here to WooCommerce, if we look at our Square settings, there's a few things that you need to do when you first set this up. Now, your product system of record is going to either be Square or WooCommerce. Square is essentially the origination of your stock. So all your stock is managed, on your iPad or your point of sale through Square. Or if you choose WooCommerce, it's going to originate from there, but not everything syncs back to Square. So if you have, let's say, a product with a bunch of different sizes and a bunch of different colors, not all of those variations are going to sync over to Square. So it's stuff like that that I think is getting the bad reviews. Now, that's not to say that none of the little nuances with this Square integration are cause for bad reviews, because what I've discovered is that if you basically do a checkout through your WooCommerce store on a product synced from Square, the inventory item is removed out of Square instantly as soon as the person checks out through WooCommerce, which is awesome. Now, the inverse of that is when you do a checkout through your transaction, through the Square app, it does eventually take it out of your WooCommerce inventory, but it does take a little bit of time. So coming back over here to our WooCommerce settings, there's this little update button right here under the Square tab. You can see the latest sync was at 4:11 p.m. and the next one is 5:11 p.m. So it looks like it happens every hour, and I'm not exactly sure if it's possible to change this time. I can't find anywhere in documentation or settings where I can increase the frequency of this sync time, but hopefully you can increase that. Alternatively, you can just click a sync now. And then the other thing is that back over here on the settings page, if you go import all products, it's going to rerun that sync for you. Now, this import all products is a little bit confusing because this goes back to what I mentioned, is that you have to have a unique SKU in your Square item inventory for it to show up here in WooCommerce, and there also has to be a stock level. And then, of course, like I already explained, because we chose our product system of record as Square, when I actually go to my products here in WooCommerce, and let's just say, for instance, this Brazil one, When I come down here to inventory, you can see I can't actually change the stock quantity in this particular field. It says managed by Square. I'd have to do that here on my tablet or my phone or whatever, wherever you have the Square app. And then eventually this is going to sync. So let's actually go ahead and update this one. So this product is called Brazil Online. You can see that the stock quantity is 0. So now what I'm going to do is open up my iPad and switch to screen recording there, and we'll go kind of update an item, and I'll show you what it takes to actually make that sync happen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go down here to my items, and then we're going to go to Brazil Online. We're going to scroll down. Of course, I already have an SKU, a SKU in there for the stock. I'm going to click that. Say I receive stock of 2. We'll go ahead and save this. We need to save it again. And then there's no other confirmation here in Square. So what we're going to do is go ahead and actually switch back over here to WooCommerce. Nothing's changed on this screen. Let's go ahead and refresh, and it's not going to pull back in our stock update just yet, I don't believe. If we click on inventory, then no, it still shows 0. So what you would have to do is go back over here to your WooCommerce settings. We would need to click on Square. We're going to go over here to update, and you can at this point either just wait. So right now it is 4:36. And I could wait until 5:11 if I wanted to, which for this particular business is not going to be that big of a deal because the disparity between ordering online and offline is not going to be that big. But I can also just go ahead and click Start Sync. It says syncing now. It's probably going to be really quick because it's only 3 products. So one question that just got answered for me now that this sync is done is the latest sync time, of course, was just a minute ago, and the next sync time didn't change. So I was actually afraid that running this sync was going to end up pushing the next one to 5:36, but that's good news that the next sync does actually stay where it was. I really feel like there's got to be a way to increase that frequency, but nonetheless, not to get distracted, remember we increased the stock of the Brazil item, and so now we have our in-stock Brazil. You'll remember from before that one had a stock of 0, so that one was fully out of stock. So you can see it does go back and forth with a little bit of nuance in between. Now, of course, you can see that these products were synced from Square and they don't have images, so that's actually something interesting. I do know that you can add a product image in Square. Does that sync or not? To be honest, I don't know. We can certainly go ahead and try, so I'm going to just try it. Okay, so I have an image added here in this Brazil product, so we're going to go ahead and save this guy. I'll just leave it here for a second, and then let's switch back over to WooCommerce and see how long it takes for it to update. I'm assuming we're going to have to do another sync, and hopefully it will bring in our product for us, our product image, and that will be amazing if it does. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to run another sync, and let's see if this pulls in our product image. Okay, so our latest sync just completed, so let's go back over here to our products and refresh, and I'm really hoping this brings in the image. I really hope it does. Yes, it does. Wow, so the sync does work. Let's take a look at this and see. It popped it in our product image field, and I'm assuming that also means it put it in our media library. Sure enough, there it is. That is super awesome. So that is very cool. That means this product sync does work. So there are some nuances with the syncing. As I mentioned, just to kind of recap, the WooCommerce to Square inventory update happens automatically. But if you're going from Square, like for instance, your POS in your shop, back to WooCommerce, it does take a little bit of time. By default, it looks like the sync runs every hour, but you can force it to go quicker if you need it to. And you also have to be mindful of the fact that your products need a SKU and an inventory in the Square app. Of course, we chose our point of record as Square for them to properly sync over to WooCommerce. Now that also ties in with the fact that I do believe you're gonna need to keep your products relatively basic. Lots of different variations and stuff are not gonna sync to WooCommerce, and it does specifically tell you that. So you need to be mindful of if you have lots of variations and complex attributes for your products, that's probably not going to carry over from Square to WooCommerce. But if you can find a way to have WooCommerce be kind of your central inventory and you're okay with Square being a little bit more cluttered up, then that seems like a viable solution for you. So the answer to whether or not does the Square for WooCommerce integration suck as badly as you would think based on the reviews is I don't think so. I think it's fairly viable for relatively simple stores and cases like this where you just simply want your inventories to match between Square and WooCommerce. So this for us is a great solution. It's completely free, of course, and Square is actually our payment processor through WooCommerce, which is even more amazing. Keeps everything just super tied in and integrated. And with the plan to expand this business and open other coffee shops in the future, it's just going to make everything even more seamless. So with that, I really hope that this video video was enlightening for you guys. It took me a couple hours to get to this conclusion, but hopefully it's helpful, saves you some time, and helps answer the question, is this the right integration for you? Maybe, maybe not. Let me know in the comments what you use for your e-commerce store. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.